Hi guys, TotallyDubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the Anker Soundcore Liberty 2 Pro True Wireless earphones. Now these can be found for around £140 and $140 in the US. Links will be down in the description below in case you're interested. The locally link will take you to your localized Amazon store. Now inside the box you'll find the earphones themselves with their carrying case, which I'll get into in just a bit. You've got some ear tips and ear wings, which are great in terms of finding the right fit. You've got a USB to USB Type-C cable for charging, and also a user manual, as you can see I haven't even used. Now in terms of the earphones themselves, the case is actually pretty impressive. By that I mean it's got wireless charging functionality built in, so you can place it on a wireless charging pad. Better still, due to its USB Type-C connectivity, it's got fast charging, so therefore within about 10 minutes you can get around 2 hours of playback time. On top of that, the actual case itself has a 32-hour playback time, which is pretty insane given its competitors. In fact, it's one of the highest rated in terms of battery life over the 44 different true wireless earphones I've actually come across. And better still, the earphones themselves on a single charge will last 8 hours. That's fantastic because you want to go out and about and you want to be using them, and these earphones will allow you to facilitate that. Now in terms of the design of the earphones themselves, this is where Anker, not say shot themselves in the foot, but there is a slight flaw. Now their size is pretty large, and I would say in terms of comparison, I've got the Creative Outlier Air over here and the Libratone Track Air Plus. They sit at the larger scale. So the Track Air Plus, which are on the left over here, have got the best sort of design due to their sleek type of look and due to their size. You can see the difference is pretty enormous. In comparison, the Outlier Air, which aren't exactly the smallest earphones in the world, still look smaller than the Ankers, and indeed the Ankers are larger. I would say in comparison, for those who might be aware, are the Sony WF-1000XM3s, which are very large earphones. And with those earphones, very much like with these Anker earphones, are earphones I would not suggest if you're going to be doing any sort of gym, exercise, running or anything like that. In fact, they're so big that even when I was walking at pace, they would start falling out. And yes, I had the right tip in terms of fit, and I had the ear wings which were perfectly adjusted to my ears. So this is a flaw that I found with the Anker earphones, and I would say it's something that might help hold back a lot of people from actually purchasing them. And you'll find out why, because the sound quality is actually pretty insane. Now in terms of the build quality, these don't have touch sensitive buttons. Instead they've got physical buttons. Now the physical buttons can be adjusted through the app, which I'll show you in just a bit, but the buttons don't create a loud sort of clicky noise in your ear. Unlike the Creative Outlier Air, these are very loud in your ear when you're operating them. I would say the best implementation of actual buttons was from RHA with the RHA True Connect. However, the touch implementation with the Libratone Track Air, I would say, is among the best because it just means that you don't have a physical button being pressed. Anyway, the buttons can provide media controls and also access your voice assistant if you so wish. Now, I'd also like to mention that these earphones have a quad microphone. Now, that is what the marketing claim is. I did the test myself with my fiance, and I tested out all these earphones and even my Samsung Galaxy S10's built-in microphones. I was very impressed to see that these earphones actually cancel out a good amount of environmental sound while you're actually talking. And they do provide a relatively good sound quality. In fact, there is a better sound quality in terms of the actual recording quality out of these three earphones you can see in your shot. However, the Track Air Plus managed to completely eliminate any sort of outside sound, whilst the Outlier Air had a lot of environmental sound, whereas the Anker sat somewhat in between. So do as you might feel fit, let's say, but I found that they are decent in terms of the recording quality. Now moving on from that, in terms of isolation, they have passive isolation only. They've got no active noise cancellation like the Track Air Plus. So it's worth bearing that in mind, that you're going to want to get a good seal in order to block out environmental sound. Now moving on from that, let's talk about the app. Now the Soundcore app is pretty well designed in my opinion. You got the Liberty 2 Pro, which shows up over here. You can see the remaining charge per ear with a left and right indicator, and then you've got the equalizer. Now the equalizer has the Hear ID. Now the Hear ID personally I found was completely flawed. I ran this test 2 to 3 times and I found it to be completely off every single time. Now I don't have perfect ears, but even then these earphones completely skewed how my hearing should be. In other words, you can see over here the left earphone was completely off from my right ear, and I know ears are going to be slightly different, but that difference was really noticeable to the point it sounded like the fader, like imagine you're playing with a fader or balance, was completely skewed towards my left ear. So it's not something that worked for me and not something I would suggest, and reading some Amazon reviews it seems like other people have had issues as well. Now is the default sound signature which you can use, or preset EQs, let's say hip hop or a classical, and then you've also got the professional one, the professional by Grammy winning producers. Now bear in mind these would have been paid probably from Anker to be listed over here. Personally I didn't find any of these presets to be actually any useful. They were either too sibilant, they were either completely drowned out in the mids, or completely bass-like. None of them was the best. If anything, Zach Allen was the better of all of them. But truly, the one that I found the best is my own EQ, and this is the one EQ that I found to work the best through the music that I listen to. Of course, this is subjective, so your mileage may vary. Aside the EQ, in terms of the Soundcore app, you can also customize the buttons as I mentioned before. You can double tap or hold for 1 second, and these will again allow you different functions, but you can see it's limited. You got next, previous, voice assistant, volume up and down. There's no other sort of controls that you can adjust or sort of tailor towards them. So anyway, it's worth bearing that in mind, and I just do like the fact that you can actually customize it through the app, and the app is really responsive. So now let's talk about Bluetooth connectivity. Now Bluetooth wise I was very impressed because these have Bluetooth aptX, AAC and SBC codecs built in. Sure, they don't have aptX HD or LDAC, but at this price point it's really impressive to see these earphones actually support all 3 codecs. So in terms of my case, as I was using a Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, it ran over the aptX codec. I had no video lag or audio delay to note on YouTube or any other apps. However, there is an issue that I found that I kind of noted when it comes to the sound quality, and that is due to the fact that they sound a little bit slow. Now speed is something that you'll hear not in drugs, but when it comes to actually earphone terminology, speed is something that's some audiophiles refer to. It's the way that the earphones deliver the music. Some are slow, some are fast. In this case, these earphones are very much on the slower scale. So where it came to listening to podcasts or watching some YouTube videos, I felt the delivery of these earphones was a lot slower in comparison to other earphones I've come across. In fact, one of the slowest sounding true wireless I've ever come across. However, on that note, I will say the sound quality that you get from these earphones is pretty insane, specifically because of their price. Now, I've tried 44 different true wireless earphones. The 2 of my favorites are in picture, under £100, and pretty much my favorite true wireless earphones. And these trump all of them that I've ever heard in terms of sound quality. And yes, that also includes the very expensive Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless. Purely because they've got a very well-rounded sound signature. Don't get me wrong, they're not perfect. They don't have a perfect mid-range. You saw from the EQ, I had to boost it up a bit. But the fact that you've got that EQ and that you can play around with it, and also the fact that they don't sound too artificial in the mid-range, and neither do they sound overly sibilant in the highs, it means that these sound one of the best sound I've ever got from a true wireless earphone. And given the fact they're £140, which is a lot cheaper than the Sennheisers are, then it is a pretty good package. So going through the sound frequency, the sub bass has got a good rumble, the mid bass has got a good a punchy sound and is controlled. It doesn't sound uncontrolled or wobbly in the slightest. The mid range is veiled and a little bit pushed back, with a little bit of the EQ sounds a little bit more forward. It will never sound very forward sounding, but again, in comparison to other earphones I've come across, including the ones in Shot and other ones, it does sound a lot more forward and a lot better in terms of its reproduction. In terms of the highs, they're a little bit sibilant, but very, very slightly, so I'd suggest just bring it down just 1 notch so that you can get a slightly less sibilant sound. The soundstage is very impressive. I would say that the overall width and depth that you get with these earphones is very impressive, and therefore in terms of listening to instrument separation, these earphones do a fantastic job. Again, bear in mind the speed that I mentioned before, because that kind of feeds into the soundstage and how instruments are delivered. So overall, what do I make of them? Well, truly, as you might be aware, these earphones sound fantastic. The only problem is the fact that their dual driver design, their balanced armature and dynamic driver design, means that these earphones are pretty large, and therefore they're not going to be suitable for people who want to go running or do any physical activity. If you don't fall in that category, and also you don't need active noise cancellation, then these are fantastic earphones. Personally, my favorites are still the Libratone Track Air Plus, purely due to their design and the fact they got noise cancellation technology and touch controls. If those could have come across to the Anker, then I think you'd have had a fantastic, flawless product, you know, in terms of its design and whatever it have you. So there we go, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed my honest, unpaid review. If you've liked it, make sure you give it a like, subscribe, favorite, and share, and all that good stuff. All right, guys, Totally Dubbed out.